how do you make a decision? I mean, when faced with a serious choice that feels impossible to choose, but at the same time leaves you with this anxiety, this gnawing anxiety, and puts you kind of in a limbo state, what do? Well, we tend to use our heads. In fact, there are elaborate and complicated ways that we rationally work through a dilemma. And it's all just to find some choice, some decision that makes us feel better so we can move forward. Now, what I've noticed is this leaves us at the end, even after the decision is made, feeling exhausted and burnt out and just relieved from the whole process that it's over. And then we do it all again when the next big choice appears in our lives. This cycle is definitely not ideal. In fact, for me personally, it wore me out. We're taught this is the only way, to think about it, to use our heads. I've spent my lifetime stuck in my monkey mind. And I've spent many, many hours analyzing, planning, and ruminating over the next step, the way forward. But what I found was I just got a huge headache, and I saw a very clear pattern of getting stuck in a thankless overthinking cycle, agonizing at times. So I made a commitment to find the best way to make a decision based on the maximum amount of wisdom that I could find. And this quest is taking me far and wide, and finally beyond head-based research. I had to get to a wall where I realized my head wasn't going to take me any further. That I had to, in order to get past this next point, I had to venture into the unknown world beyond my head. The thing is, when we work within the confines of our head, we work within the confines of our subconscious programming. We now know that 95% of our thoughts are unconscious. They're just the same thoughts from the day before. We're on autopilot. How can we possibly work with this system to find new knowledge, information, breakthroughs, and insights? How do we possibly make a decision with our head knowing this? The answer is, well, we can't. And that's where the heart comes into play. Our hearts are the most beautiful and magical and miraculous thing that will ever explore within our inner technology. The electromagnetic field around our heart is up to 5,000 times stronger than the one that is around our little brain. This resource within us is completely underutilized in our current times. And so I found myself on this journey to moving down to my heart space. I didn't even know what it meant at the time, but I knew that there's something hidden in this sacred space that was going to open up a whole new world, a widening of perception in my life. For those of you who relate to this and who spent their lifetime in their head, will be familiar with this idea that it's just easier to think logically when you push your emotions aside. We learned that our emotions were in the way and just caused us trouble. See, emotions bring up pain, and pain that we've pushed down on purpose a long time ago when we were kids because it hurt too much to feel. We closed our hearts, and our heart became nicely shielded behind a big wall. When we were kids, we learned that if we continued using the language of our heart, which is feeling, we would feel increasing levels of pain. So we moved into our head and we stopped using this way of being. Maybe you can see that there's a disconnect between our body, where our heart lives, and our head. I used to be based in my head. See, we've all been avoiding feeling because it's painful, but being based in our head is actually the most painful way to be, to live. It's painful because our head isn't a technology created to be a guidance system or compass to walk this life. It's only based on programs that have been installed over a lifetime. How can you gain insights and knowledge and wisdom from a program? Listen to your heart. This is such a cliche line. We hear this in the love songs and the cheesy Hallmark movies. But the wisdom within this saying has absolutely been lost to most people. So why do we need to move into the heart? The heart is a technology that is connected to information that you'll never be able to receive from the head, especially when the heart is closed. This information connects you to your higher self, which is outside of the confines of the programming. It's outside time and space. The head is based within time and space, but the heart is eternal. When we start to listen to our heart, when we allow ourselves to finally crack it open, which takes a hell of a lot of courage, the root word of courage being heart, we begin to receive messages that we may never have heard before. These messages remind us of our deepest and truest values. Our heart tells us which direction to go. When we feel expansive and open and peaceful, our heart is saying, yes. And when we listen and take action accordingly, we find ourselves in alignment, in congruence with a path that will be bringing fulfillment, balance, and peace. And when we begin to attune to our heart, it tells us when we are contracted, closed, and afraid. The head cannot do any of these things. The head can only think according to its installed programs. So how do we move into our hearts and live with our internal guidance system fully online? Well, I'm going to leave you with a little exercise at the end that you can do immediately. I could give you a whole lot of head-based thoughts, rationalized and planned out and written for me to explain how to move into the heart. But ultimately, this is not something that you learn through the head. This is something that you release. It's a surrender process. It requires you to actually let go of being afraid of feeling. To feel is to heal. We're taught from a very young age that there are certain feelings we shouldn't feel, that it's bad for us to feel anger, sadness, fear, frustration, even shame. But did you know that it's not until you feel these feelings that they can actually be released? They're stuck in there waiting to be felt. We release repressed emotions when we feel them. I mean, fully feel them without blocking, distracting, or judging them or ourselves. Just watch kids when they express an emotion. If you just let them fully feel it, they quickly recover. But if you block them from completing their emotion, it becomes lodged within their body's energy system, and they carry it around into adulthood. I'm sure you can resonate with that idea. A life of overthinking means you carry a heavy load and expend a lot of energy keeping it under control. It's easy for me to say this to you, but this is something you need to actually know within yourself that it's true. So here's this little exercise to try. Step 1, close your eyes. Close your eyes and place your hands on your heart. And take some deep belly breaths. Those deep belly breaths take you out of the head. Because when we're shallow breathing, we are shallow thinking. We're overthinking. We're in survival brain mode. We're stuck. Step 2. Now bring your focus, your awareness, as you close your eyes, to your heart space. You spend a lifetime in your head. Perhaps it's time to take a moment to feel into your heart. And step 3, recall a time when you felt stressed, challenged, burdened, too many problems. And notice your body, how it becomes contracted and your shoulders move forward to protect this heart space. You feel heavy, small, afraid, constricted. This is a no. This is your heart saying no. Now, recall the last time that you were completely relaxed and at peace. Perhaps this was on a holiday or vacation away from your regular routine of work. Perhaps it was somewhere beautiful and inspirational. It just felt good. You felt good. Notice your body. Notice how it relaxes with this memory. Notice how your shoulders open. You relax, you let go. Your heart feels exposed and expansive. You feel peace. This is a yes. This is a yes to any question you might have for your heart. Practice this so that you become familiar with a yes feeling and a no feeling. You are attuning to the technology of your heart. Rather than sitting down and spending an hour rationalizing and planning and analyzing a problem using the logic of the limited mind that's just the same thoughts from yesterday, use your heart and see what happens. Maybe start small with little choices that aren't as critical in your life, the little decisions. And notice how when you follow through with the action that aligns with the heart-based yes or no, that you are taken into flow. Your life feels easier and more peaceful. I hope this is helpful.